The night air was thick with rain and fear. The streets glistened under flickering streetlights as Lena Hart ran barefoot across the cracked pavement, clutching her torn bag to her chest. Behind her, a man shouted her name, slurred, angry, full of venom. She didn't look back. Every breath burned, every step was pain, but stopping meant going back to the nightmare she'd just escaped. Her ex-boyfriend, Eddie, was drunk, violent, and unpredictable. Tonight he'd crossed a line she couldn't forgive. Her only thought was to find safety, anywhere, anyone. That's when she saw it. A sleek black car parked near the edge of the lot outside an old cafe, its engine idling softly. She ran to it without thinking, heart pounding, hair plastered to her face from the rain. The windows were tinted, the driver's face shadowed. She didn't care. She knocked desperately on the glass. "Please," she gasped, "can I hide in your car?" "Please, he's coming." For a second there was silence. Then the window rolled down halfway, revealing a man in a dark suit, his eyes calm, unreadable, too composed for the chaos around them. He studied her, the trembling hands, the wild fear, the bruises forming on her arm. Without a word, he unlocked the door. "Get in." She hesitated only a second before sliding into the passenger seat, clutching her bag like a lifeline. The man rolled the window up again, the noise of the storm fading into muffled quiet. His voice was low, deep, and strangely gentle. "Who's after you?" "My ex," she whispered. "He's drunk, dangerous." She looked up, finally seeing him clearly. His face was sharp, chiseled, and hauntingly calm, the kind of calm that made you wonder what storms he'd survived. The man nodded once, glanced in the mirror, then reached for something under his seat. Her heart jumped, but he only pulled out a handkerchief. "You're bleeding," he said simply. "Hold this." She pressed it against her lip, confused by his quiet command. Then in the mirror, she saw Eddie's car screech into the parking lot. Her breath hitched. "That's him," she whispered. "Oh God, he'll kill me." The man didn't move. He waited as Eddie stumbled out of his car, shouting, waving his arms. "Lena, get out here!" His voice echoed through the lot. The man's eyes darkened. He stepped out of the car slowly, unbuttoning his coat as he did. "Stay here," he told her. His tone wasn't loud, but it carried a power that made her obey without question. Through the rain, she watched him approach Eddie. There was no shouting, no threats, just a few quiet words exchanged. Then Eddie's expression changed from fury to confusion, then to fear. The man leaned in close, whispered something, and Eddie nodded frantically before turning and running back to his car like a dog fleeing its master. The stranger walked back, calm as ever, and slid behind the wheel. He didn't look at her as he started the engine. "You're safe now," she stared at him, still shaking. Who are you?" He glanced sideways, the faintest hint of a smile touching his lips. "Someone who doesn't like men who hurt women." That was the first scene, the night Lena ran from her past straight into the arms of the most dangerous man in the city. The second scene began an hour later, in the warmth of a quiet apartment overlooking the river. He'd brought her there after she'd fallen asleep in his car. When she woke, he was sitting across from her reading. "You fainted," he said without looking up. "You were exhausted." Lena sat up slowly. "I should go," she murmured. He folded his paper. "Go where?" "Back to the man who chases you. Or the police who'll tell you to file a report and send you home alone." His voice was calm, but there was something dangerous underneath it, not directed at her but at the world that had failed her. She bit her lip. "You sound like you've done this before." He looked at her for a long moment, then said softly, "Once upon a time, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it. Now I return the favor." She didn't know what to say, so she asked the question burning in her mind. "What do you do?" His answer was a single name, one she'd only ever heard whispered in fear on the news. Dante Moretti, the reclusive head of the Moretti crime family. Her breath caught. Yes, Lena froze. "Then why help me?" He leaned back, eyes unreadable. "Because power means nothing if you can't use it to protect something innocent." The third scene unfolded over the following weeks. Dante had arranged for Eddie to disappear, not killed but relocated, warned in ways only men like Dante could manage. Lena didn't ask for details. She didn't want to know. She just knew she could sleep again. She began working at one of Dante's restaurants, not as a favor, but because he insisted she was too stubborn to sit still. The more time she spent around him, the more she saw what others didn't, the quiet humanity buried under the legend. He wasn't cruel for sport nor reckless with his power. Everything he did had purpose, and sometimes late at night when he thought no one was watching, she'd catch him staring out at the city lights like a man haunted by his own kingdom. One evening after closing, she brought him coffee. "You saved me," she said softly. "You didn't have to." He looked at her, eyes heavy. "I didn't save you, Lena. You ran. You chose to live. I just made sure no one stopped you." She smiled, something fragile and bright breaking through her guarded heart. "Still, thank you." The fourth and final scene came months later. Business rivals had turned violent, a planned ambush on one of Dante's clubs. He was injured protecting his men. Lena found him that night, bloodied but alive, in the same car where they'd first met. He looked up at her, smirking weakly. "Guess I should have stayed out of trouble." She pressed her hands against the wound, tears in her eyes. "You always get in trouble for other people." He chuckled softly. "Old habits. Don't you dare die on me, Dante. I wouldn't dream of it." In the days that followed, she never left his side. The Mafia world whispered. The boss who never trusted anyone was suddenly protected by a woman with fire in her soul and tenderness in her hands. When he recovered, he made her an offer, not of power or wealth, but of partnership. Not as his maid, not as his weakness, but as his equal. Because that night in the rain, when Lena had begged to hide in his car, neither of them knew it wasn't a hiding place, it was the beginning of a home. And though the world still called him a monster, only she knew the truth. Even monsters have hearts worth saving. And sometimes it takes a broken woman running through the rain to remind them how to use it.